Hi there, strikers. There's something uniquely disturbing about people vanishing into thin air. Read about these incredibly strange, unsolved cases. Although these disappearances span centuries, locations, age ranges, and circumstances, there's one common thread shared between them: a lack of closure. There are theories, speculations, and investigations, but never a decisive answer. On our incoming episode, I'm going to feature some of the cases of mysterious disappearances, of some missing that just disappear without any trace. This is the first of our story of the disappearance of Mitch Weiser and Bonnie Beckwith Mitchell. Mitch Weiser and Bonita Bonnie Beckwith met while attending John Dewey High School, an alternative school for gifted students located in Brooklyn, New York, and were quickly inseparable. Mitch and Bonnie were from stable, middle-class Jewish families and lived with their parents in Brooklyn, with Mitch residing in Midwood and Bonnie in Borough Park. In July of 1973, when Mitch was 16 years old and Bonnie was 15 years old, they were working typical teenager summer jobs. Mitch was a photography assistant at Chelsea Photographers in Coney Island, New York. And Bonnie was a mother's helper at Camp Wilmette in Narrowsburg, New York, a popular summer camp for Jewish kids located around 90 miles outside of the city. Mitch and his classmate Larry Marion bought tickets for a concert that was being held on July 28 at the Grand Prix Raceway in the rural central New York village of Watkins Glen. The Summer Jam at Watkins Glen was a concert festival featuring the Allman Brothers, the Grateful Dead, and the band. The concert turned out to be one of the largest in history, with over 600,000 fans in attendance. However, a wrench was soon thrown into Mitch and Larry's plans. When Larry's mom learned about the trip, she completely flipped out and forbade her son from going. So Mitch decided to invite Bonnie along instead. Not only did he not want to waste the ticket, but also he missed Bonnie and hoped she could take a couple days off from her job at the camp to enjoy their adventure with him. But when Bonnie asked her boss for the time off, she was told no, she could not go. This angered her, especially because she had been working 16 hours a day. Bonnie quit her job at the camp and told her boss she would be back in a couple days to pick up her belongings and final check. Her parents, Ray and Ted, were on holidays and did not have the opportunity to talk Bonnie into staying at camp. When Mitch told his mum Shirley and his sister Susan about his plans to go to the concert, neither were pleased. His mom pleaded with him not to go. When she realized she could not stop him, she tried to give Mitch money to make sure he would not hitchhike during the trip. When he refused the money, Susan tried to physically block her brother from exiting the house. But he pushed past her and left. Mitch left late on Thursday, July 26 and traveled by cab to Camp Wilmette since no buses ran that late, arriving to the camp around midnight. He called his sister to let her know he had arrived safely, but also mentioned that the cab ride had used up a lot of the $25 he had set aside for the trip. His sister asked Mitch to please come home, but his heart was set on going to the concert. On Friday, July 27, Mitch and Bonnie ate breakfast together in the dining hall and then gathered their belongings for the trip. They carried backpacks, sleeping bags, and a cardboard sign that read Watkins Glen to help with hitchhiking along the way. They got to ride from a camp worker into Narrowsburg, approximately 75 miles away from Watkins Glen. Camp workers often traveled back and forth shuttling campers and hauling supplies. The driver dropped Mitch and Bonnie off and last saw them standing on the side of State Route 97 trying to hitch a ride. There are unconfirmed reports that a truck driver may have given them a ride some of the way afterwards, but it seems like this could merely be confusion over the driver who gave them the initial ride from their camp. Regardless, it is unclear whether Mitch and Bonnie ever arrived in Watkins Glen for the concert. The young couple should have headed home on Sunday, July 29th, but they have never been heard from again. Their distraught families distributed thousands of flyers, hired a private detective, and even consulted psychics. But Mitch and Bonnie have remained missing for decades. At the time of his disappearance, Mitch was 5 feet 7 inches tall and weighed 140 pounds. He was wearing blue jeans, a t-shirt, and boots. Mitch has brown shoulder-length hair, hazel eyes, and wears gold-rimmed metal eyeglasses. He also has a scar on his lower lip and discolored upper front teeth. When Bonnie was last seen, she was 4 feet 11 inches tall and weighed 90 pounds. Like Mitch, she was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Bonnie has brown hair and brown eyes. When Bonnie and Mitch first vanished, authorities strongly believed they had run off together. They thought the teens had either eloped, joined a commune, or even been ensnared by a cult. Remember, this was the 1970s, so the perspective of law enforcement was quite different than it is today. And police did have a few reasons to think that Mitch and Bonnie may have left on their own accord. Bonnie mailed a letter to her parents 3 days before she disappeared in which she explained how much she liked doing her own thing while at camp. She mentioned it was time for her parents to start giving her more freedom. Plus, in the week leading up to her disappearance, Bonnie left Camp Wilmette and snuck into her family home to grab the $80 she had been saving for a bicycle. Police assumed she used the money to pay for her and Mitch to run away. At the same time, Mitch was upset because his family could not afford to send him to the college of his choice. Instead, he had to stay close to home and attend Brooklyn College. Authorities were even more sure the couple had taken off together when they discovered Mitch and Bonnie had secretly exchanged wedding rings earlier that summer. There have been at least 2 glimmers of hope that Bonnie and Mitch may be alive and well. First, Bonnie's mom Ray received a letter in the fall of 1973 from an Indian reservation in South Dakota asking for a donation. She told the media that Bonnie and Mitch were very interested in Indian affairs and wondered if they could be living among the Indian community. But even though the families mailed out hundreds of flyers to reservations and mission school, nothing ever came of the lead.